Think about this. If you knew in advance that it was not your department, but you could have input, everybody's got a stake in the game, but if you divvy up some of the decision-making responsibility, life gets a lot easier. Okay, so figure out which aspects are going to be your ballparks. I know people who divide up their houses. One partner has the inside of the house, the other partner has all the decisions on the outside of the house, the yard, the pool, what. I mean, you can do it a bunch of different ways, but it's a way of staying within a framework. Frameworks are very useful. So sometimes your ballpark might look like a goal. Okay, effective decision making. Here's how it plays out. I'm working with someone whose goal is to sell their businesses and retire. That's the ballpark. Every decision gets against the framework. Will this decision get us closer to that goal or not? Very, very simple, effective decision-making technique. You got to know what your goal is that you're trying to get to for this to work, ladies. Okay? So we're going to spend a couple of minutes on that. Do you know where you're trying to get to? And if you don't, then that is a couple of questions that I actually brought for you that we're going to go into. They're in my black folder in the bag. Everybody heard of SMART goals? Smarter goals? Okay, SMART goals. The SMART is the acronym. It stands for specific is the first, that's the S. A goal has to be specific. I don't want somebody to tell me they want more money. I want somebody to tell me exactly how much more money they want. And it's the other one. It's the blue folder. Oh well. So specific. The M is for measurable. Okay, they kind of go together, but they're a little bit different. But it's got to be measurable. That's it. Thank you. So measurable goals are just that. It's got to be able to be expressed in numbers. My favorite author says that if it cannot be expressed in numbers, it is not a fact. It is an opinion. So think about your numbers. Okay, what are your numbers? The A stands for achievable. Your goal has to be achievable. You can't say that you want to go to the moon when you've never taken an aerospace class. I mean, it's just not an achievable goal. If I want to be a rocket scientist in the next 5 months, I'm probably not going to achieve that particular goal because I haven't done the pre-work to get me there. So let's go with, that's an achievable goal. An achievable goal is this far from where you are. Don't you like that? It even rhymes. This far from where you are. It's not over there. It's this far from where you are. Now, we can have a bigger goal, but what we're going to work with are going to be the littler ones that get you this far, okay, in steps. It's called, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're going to figure out what your bites look like. SMAR. The R stands for, I went completely blank.
We taught it in school.
Yeah, wait a minute. I got my cheat sheet, and it is not on here. All right, so they didn't talk about that. Okay, so we'll come back to it in just a second. And the T stands for time bound. It has to be time bound. We can make up a word for R. It could be reasonable. Yeah, could go along with, it is reasonable. Oh, look at that. We made up the right answer. Thank you very much. Okay, so SMART goals. When you have a SMART goal, something that is specific, attainable, measurable, reasonable, and time-bound, look at it with the question, whose ballpark is it in? Is it in your ballpark, or did you just set a goal for somebody else? And that only works if they are your employee or your child. And not so much with children, and actually not so much with employees. But it sounded good when I said it. So it's very difficult to set goals for other people. I don't care what your relationship is with them. So your goal in that regard is to help them set their own goals. Wisest president we ever had said that the best way to deal with children is to find out what they want to do and advise them to do it. Same with employees. What is it they want to do, and advise them to do it, and mesh it with the goals of the business. Now, I came up with a question that you can ask people. If you're in a position where you feel the need to set goals for other people, to help them be able to set goals for other people, think about the framework that you're in and ask them if this was the absolute best company in what our silo is and what our area of expertise is, what would it look like to work here? What would people be dressed like? What kind of office would we be in? What kind of equipment would we have? If this was the best company to work for in the entire world in this aspect of occupation, what would it look like if it was the best? This is where your goals come from. In the world, according to Jackie, we are in business for one reason and one reason only: to help more people. Money is a benefit of that. Money allows us to do other things to help people, but money in and of itself is not the reason we're in business, because if money was the only factor, the main factor, we'd all have jobs working for somebody else, because we can make money doing other things. It's about helping more people with whatever the struggle is. It's whatever the transformation is. What can we help transform in someone else's life? And so when you think about what can you transform in someone else's life, that's going to be your passion. That's going to be where all of the rest of this falls in. What does it look like when I transform something for someone? And if I am the absolute best at that, and everybody with me is the absolute best, and we have created the best company, again, what does that look like? Get together. If you belong to a group of people, like you have employees or you have coworkers, get together with them and brainstorm this. What would the best look like? What are the attributes of the best in my market? Start modeling that. This is not about fake it till you make it. I'm not a fan of that. I think that produces a lot of stress. This is about having a role model and modeling yourself after the best in your industry. And if you don't know who the best is in your industry, how can you find out?
Google.
There you go. Google. The answer to everything is Google, okay? The fact that Google became a verb was just amazing.
Yes.
So, ladies, it's important at this moment to just pause and think about, if I knew I worked for the best, if I knew I was the best at what I did, if I knew that I brought incredible value into the world by showing up, how would I act? Would somebody else's attitude about me impact me at all if I was absolutely certain, if I knew I was the best? One of the greatest movies of all time on this topic is a movie called Shallow Hal. Tony Robbins is in this movie. And there is a scene where the man says, if you knew that you were dating, married to, and he named one of the famous, Bo Derek, perfect 10 actresses of the day, and everybody else looked at them and saw Roseanne Barr or Mama Cass or whatever, would it matter to you? Well, he said, well, no, because I'd know the truth. Know your truth. Know your value. Know that other people's opinions can stay other people's opinions. How do you get there? 1 is you relax. 2 is you focus on your own goals, not other people's. And when you get stuck, or if you get stuck on that particular trajectory, you might want to consider doing some stress intervention training and taking out the trash that allows other people's opinions to be more important than yours. It's very, very effective at doing that. The reality of the world that we live in now is that we need more skills to be able to handle this. We need to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and see our best friend looking back at us. So that's a goal. And you can help yourself with this a great deal. Would you just put a sign on your mirror, get out your favorite old lipstick or somebody else's if you don't wear lipstick, and write on the mirror, "Hello, best friend." Start recognizing yourself as your best friend. It will help you be a really good friend to other people. So, topic of decision. We've covered the ballpark theory, so you have a framework. Am I in my own ballpark or someone else's? So whose ballpark am I in? When I'm in someone else's ballpark, what are my 3 choices? Like I said, this is life-changing. And we've also covered the framework of if I knew I worked for the best company in the world, how would I act? If I knew I was the absolute best at what I did, how would I behave? When someone tells you something that is in direct conflict with that, you now have a choice as to whether or not to believe them. But we might have to dig a little deeper here, okay? This one's a big one. Ladies, this one's a big one. Other people's opinions defined my life. Other people's expectations of me defined my world for a really, really, really long time. I could go around a room and tell you what you wanted and what you wanted and what you wanted and what you wanted, probably before you knew what it was. It is called the E syndrome. I was really good at being everything to everybody else. And one day, I had worked with enough teachers, I had read enough books, I had finally taken in enough information that I woke up and went, oh my God, if I do not make a change, I am going to get to the end of my life having lived everybody else's and not my own. And so that was my motivation to start making changes. This is called the rocking chair test, okay? And this is the 3rd way of looking at decisions and choices for your life. And this is a Tony Robbins, and he borrowed it from Ebenezer Scrooge, from the Christmas Carol, okay? And he says that when he teaches this. The classic tale of A Christmas Carol has one of the best frameworks for decision making ever created. All in one night, Ebenezer Scrooge. He gets visited by what? The ghost of Christmases past. He got taken back into this decisions and to the life that he had lived. Then he got visited by the ghost of Christmas present. What was his current life like? Pass this down. And just in case you need it, anybody, just leave it on the table. So Ebenezer Scrooge, ghost of Christmas past, what his life had been like, what choices he had made, what he had not pursued. Ghost of Christmas present. What is your life really like now? Most of us have no clue because we don't stop long enough to take a good look at it because we're afraid we're not going to like it. I will tell you that the only way you're going to change it is to know it's there. So if you've got something in your life right now that's not the way you want it and you have avoided looking at it, this is a safe place. So ladies, this is a safe place. Feel free to write this down. If I stopped tolerating one thing in my life, what would it be? What is the one thing you're tolerating in your life? You don't have to share this with anybody. But we all have tolerations. We all have things that we put up with. And if we know what they are, guess what we can do? One is we can figure out whose ballpark they're in. 2, we can figure out if putting up with them gets us closer to our goals. See how the frameworks fit around this? First, you identify it. What are you tolerating? And then what's the fastest way to not have to tolerate